gave us a price around $7,000 to redo every lock on our side. And it was around $1,000 for the 4 different priority areas that were mentioned.
I would suggest, I mean, it may be money well spent, money we should do. At first, I would like to see what our money situation is. That's another thing before we buy too big of it. I'd like to know. I mean, you need to know before you decide. It may be immaterial, but we need to know. So, ideally, we'd like to change everything. I
think it's something you need to know pretty quick, though.
Well, we're going to have a financial report next Wednesday. And I don't think as a practical matter, we'll probably get all the locks changed by then anyway, except these 4 we're talking about. And the truth is we don't need to. We don't really need to, have the lock changed on the conservation room necessarily. I mean, there's nothing.
The fact is that we have not had committee assignments, so
that's right. So
nobody's going to be going.
That's correct. That's the idea. So now I would like to suggest this. We have some space here, and I'm not begrudging anybody for trying to find a place to hang their hat, but now I've been told we've got some, and not necessarily, I'm not impugning anybody, it's not necessarily a committee chairman that's hanging on or anything like that. There are people that are in areas that really weren't ever there, but they're just trying to find a place, and I don't begrudge that. I mean, people need to, that's another reason we need space around here. But the truth is, I'm going to ask the clerk tomorrow before we adjourn to make a nice, polite announcement that, listen, if you've got anything in a committee, in an office or a committee room, please remove that. We're trying. We've got to have our committee's going to be. We're going to be looking at space. We're going to be seeing what's available, this, that, and the other. At some point soon after committees are assigned, we're going to have to go in and see what's needed on it. We just don't need a complication of somebody. So, this gives folks a few days if they need to, but we want to politely ask folks, look, wait and see what office you'll have, and if you don't have one, we're going to try to work and find your space. We're really going to sincerely try to do that. But right now, get your stuff, okay? I mean, that needs to be the message in a polite way. And I want to ask the clerk to make that announcement. Remind me the clerk's here. I keep saying I'm going to ask the clerk. He's here. We'll do that tomorrow. You can be polite, can't you? Try extra hard to be polite?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So, okay. There've got to be other things on that to bring up. Did anybody have any questions or anything we need to add? Those are. We got to make that decision today? Do we have enough information to assess that?
You may not. You need to at least.
Can we defer it?
Somebody needs to give her authority to not make that change.
Let me brief you on this right quick. Where's the little? This is here. This is just one of these little gifts you get handed. It's not necessarily bad. It's just a situation. I'm explaining the situation. If I incorrectly state it, jump in. Don't hesitate. But apparently in December, the Senate Rules Committee gave a 5% raise to some joint employees, joint operations employees, a 5% pay raise effective 1/1/12. Now, nothing wrong with that necessarily, but the joint employees, we have to approve that. That was not done. The management committee did not do that. Now we have a new management committee. The payroll, I guess these folks are expecting their raise if they've been told they got one, which I assume they do. They're expecting a raise this week.
In their 15th paycheck, and the venue needs to submit that payroll tomorrow.
Okay. Now
They're told not to.
I cannot represent to you that these raises are bad or shouldn't be approved. I'm just representing to you. I don't know much about it. We've not been told. Maybe some of y'all do, and I'll let you chip in if you do. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we could defer this, which would mean they wouldn't get their check this time, but if we ended up approving it, it would be retroactive, and they'd come back, and they'd get the money, but it would give us maybe another week to look at it and understand it. I don't know if this was old Senate regime versus new Senate regime. I don't know what's going on down there. I don't know. I may be just chasing shadows. It may not be anything like that. It may have been just, Okay, Representative Hines, I think you had your hand up first. And I think
Can we know what positions they're talking about?
It's a
Oh,
printing.
first of all, that's the personnel matter. Is Ben?
No, we're not talking about individual performance on anybody. I think, and I am sensitive to that, and I appreciate you saying that. And I will say you're welcome to be here if we get a situation anytime where we're going to be talking about an individual or job performance, something like that. It's just we owe it to that person, we owe it to the institution to treat that confidentiality with confidentiality. I don't think we're not talking about any issue here with any person. I mean, we're talking about their raises, but we don't know the facts, frankly. If we get the facts and we find out we need to talk about it, and it does relate to something like that, then certainly you're correct, gentlemen. At this point, and I'm not talking about names, but what?
The printing staff, the Legislative Reference Bureau, laptop tech up here, just one. The other remaining ones are under the Legislative Budget Office payroll. The postmistress, things that are paid out of the joint. It's some less than 10 people.
Do we have a postmistress at this time?
No.
We don't have one yet, no. And I think that's in process. I'm told there's ongoing discussion about that between the new Lieutenant Governor and the Speaker, and at some point we're going to deal with that. We're not dealing with it. That's what I'm told. Representative Adams? Yeah. Sorry, I knew there was an
What I want to know, once the Senate approves, we almost bound to approve it too, right?
No, not if we think it's a bad idea.
If we don't approve it, then it doesn't go through.
That's correct. And I'm not suggesting, don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting for a minute that we need just to knee-jerk turn it down. I think that would be wrong. These people may all deserve, probably do, all deserve this. Maybe they haven't. I don't know. I just don't know the facts. And I just think it's incumbent upon us to know the facts before we do it. This won't happen again because we're going to be meeting regularly enough, and if the Senate does something like this, we're going to take it up. But this is something that slipped through the cracks, I'm sure, a year in or whatever. But my suggestion would be, unless you think it get us into trouble, is to entertain a motion to investigate this and to defer a decision until we get the facts about this. And I don't know if that's something we can deal with next week. If it is, we will. Or, in the short term, we're not just putting this in the can. We're going to find out and make a decision about it. Would somebody make that motion?
I'll make the motion, but who's going to investigate?
Well, that's what I was going to get. I think one of these groups we've got, or we'll talk about that in a second. If you make that motion, do you have a question, then?
After you make the motion, I'd like to volunteer to work on it.
All right, that's fine. All right, you make the motion. We have someone second it?
Second.
All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, John, if you would, why don't you find out what the facts are, and if you would work with Teresa and with Andrew to try to gather. We want to be sensitive now, and I don't have to tell you this. We want to be sensitive in dealing with the Senate down. I mean, we don't want them to think we're in their business or whatever. Some of this we might not even filter through the staff. Have Andrew call the Secretary of the Senate down there and find out. I don't want Terry Brown yelling at me. Not yet. I'm sure it's going to happen, but I don't want to hear it. So, you know what I'm saying? Be sensitive about that.
You're Terry about the same side, Jim.
Well, I got you got my back. Though, so.
I'll first send it in there.
You got my back. All right. But I really think if you'll be sensitive with that, just check on that and work with Andrew to try to find out what the facts are, and we'll deal with that. It may be that the thing to do is to approve it, and I don't have a problem with that, but we need to make a committee decision to do that, and we need to have the facts before we're asked to do it. That's my only question. Yes, sir.
And just to explain it to y'all, the joint operations budget is funded by appropriation, and it's for joint expenses of the House and Senate. Lavinia, who works for the House, does the payroll for that budget. However, payments for invoices and other things like that are done by the Senate accountant. So just so you know why Lavinia was even involved, there's no joint payroll.
Comes out of a different budget.
It's not in the House budget. It's a separate joint budget that you all have. And Mr. Speaker, you might want to send a little memo or something to the people involved so they'll...
That's correct. I was going to suggest that we don't need to have these people think we're a bunch of meanies up here and we're, I can hear it now, the right wing pro tems after our paycheck. I know I was kidding. But we don't want to, we do want to assure these people, I'm sure they're all valued employees, that this is we just need to get the facts.
Right.
And if I need to do or Andrew, if you can work up something with my signature or something like that, just tell them there's something we need to look at. Or I'll talk to them if we need to, whatever you think. These are going to be joint staff. Again, if you maybe find out how best to handle that, I'll be happy to handle it, whatever's appropriate. But I do think these people should be given the courtesy of being told what we're doing. Because, somebody said they deserve a pay raise, and obviously, if I were one of them, I'd want to know why we didn't think so. And the message is, well, we hadn't said you're not. We just don't know yet. We're new. We're going to get a little information, and then we're going to make a decision.
At the same time, you got to be sensitive to other employees also.
That's correct. That's correct. So, if you could kind of maybe give some thought at however the best way to deal with that, I think it's an excellent suggestion. All right. Anybody else have any questions? Any areas of concern that we haven't addressed? Yes, Representative Turner.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Have we made a decision yet who our writer for the House is going to be now that Matt Gordon is gone?
That's not been brought to my attention, and I don't think. Well, I guess it is a matter of the management committees about approval on it. I don't know that we're not going to be the ones out there selecting that person. Obviously, I think that would be the Speaker's call. And I don't know what's in the works there. Frankly, I think the Speaker, rightly so, has focused his energies and is focusing his energies at this point. As he's pointed out, I know there's some frustration among the public more so than the members. I think the members understand the process. Speaker Gunn did not have a gavel to Tuesday. And he was very concerned, and I think rightly so, about appearances. You don't want to see, if you're the possible speaker, and everybody expects you to be speaker, but you hadn't been elected on, until January 3rd, and particularly it's a change of parties, and it's a historic thing and all that, you don't want to be sending out mid-December to members saying, send me your committee. I mean, that's not going to be received, or could possibly not be received well. And that's not he didn't want to get off on that foot with it. He didn't want anybody to think he was presumptuous or taking anything for granted. But when you do that, obviously, Tate Reeves has been elected for a month and a half, and he's had a little bit of a head start. The Speaker just got our committee preference. We still see it. Some town turned him today. So he's devoted his energies and is devoting his energies to that, which I think we all want him to do, first and foremost. And these other things, not that they're not important, but we need to know where our committees are and our chairmen are before we worry about our first guy writing
until you get some committees.
That's correct. So that's a high priority, and he's working on that. But that's a long way of saying, how I take the long way around sometimes to say a simple no, the answer's no.
Thank you very much.
Yes, all right. Any other things? Well, look. Representative Young, any objection? Representative Young. Oh, there was a matter you mentioned to me, yes.
Yes, sir.
I'm thankful Representative Young has mentioned, and I'm not sure it's a matter within the purview of our committee, but I was asked to look into it, and I think we should. I've been told there's some issues with the broadcast, the telecast or whatever, maybe in camera placement, maybe that maybe some rules we need to look at. I don't think that's management. I think that's rules. So that's rules we need to look at. But also just issues about whether it's working properly, maybe. And I don't know if that's our purview either. And I don't know if that's ETV. I don't know what the deal is with it. I mean, I don't know who does that.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Go ahead. No,
out of curiosity, I mean, what are the complaints? What's going on?
First complaint is it's supposed to be open, and it's not. What I guess IT technology open is the camera is focused on the speaker only, and there are multiple cameras in the chamber, but the viewing audience cannot view the clerk when they open, the mic. They can't view the web. They can't view any members on the floor when they speak. So it's not a very receptive broadcast.
All right.
The second thing, I'm sorry.
All right, that's excellent, and I know what you're saying. That would be a matter for rules,
Right.
Because that would be. I think when the first decision was made, it was to limit. So I think that's an excellent suggestion. But that would be something, and we don't have a rules chairman yet. I hope we'll have one shortly. But that would be rules. And go ahead, hit the second element.
The second problem was if people are inside the Capitol, they're able to receive the broadcast. A lot of people outside of the Capitol don't have any access to it. It's restricted.
What you mean by restricted? John said they can't see or
They can't access the webcast, period.
They don't have the bandwidth necessary to pick it up and
No,
play it.
sir, I'm sure they have bandwidth. Mr. Cox, that's with the Medical Association. Can't get it at his office or at his house.
I couldn't see
All right,
that.
let me, I want to, with the committee's indulgence, I want to recognize the clerk. Greg, I think you may have some information on that, Andrew.
They said the first day that you couldn't get it outside the building, but after that, no, I didn't go back and check yesterday. It was in there. But after that, they thought they probably had it fixed, and because that was just a problem for the first day. And there's one camera up here, there's one camera on the other side, one focuses on the well, one on the speaker stand, and I don't know if they were maybe not able to have both of them working the other day or whatever, but we usually have pages, and it's just a matter of flipping a switch as to who's talking that operate those. So, I mean, if you're going to get to try to move them around and film somebody else, that might get to be, somebody out on the floor.
Yeah, but if I remember correctly, Mr. Chairman, if I may, the focus of the cameras was decided by the Rules Committee 2 or 3 years ago.
It's in the rules.
So yes, that's not.
Here.
That wouldn't be something for us to deal with. Having said that, I think it's something that, again, we've got a new term, we've got a new rules committee, it's a whole new deal. It's probably a good thing to ask them to revisit the issue to see if they want to be that restrictive. I think it's fine. Yeah, I would confer, Representative Young, when we have a rules chairman, bring it to their attention. I'm on rules, I'll be happy to, but bring it to their attention, and I think it's an excellent suggestion. It's the sort of thing I'll be revisited. But that part of it is real. As far as the technical part of it, inquire with people that maybe had the issue on the first day and see if it's a continuing problem. Maybe something we can help with here. I don't know.
Speaker, thank you. Is it permissible to ask somebody who knows whether or not yesterday's broadcast?
With the committee's indulgence, yes. You certainly welcome
Jimmy.
It was not Jimi Hendrix, Jackson Jambalaya. It was not working yesterday. I called it MPB. They said, no, you have to call the house. So I called the clerk's office, spoke to Gloria, and she had said they were working on it. This was about noon yesterday. We could not get it. So it was actually 2 days. I haven't checked it today. Okay. So it may be working.
Well, we want it fixed.
And it was the House and the Senate.
Okay. Well, we want it fixed. I don't know. Let's check on it and see if it's working or not. We need to ask whoever's in charge of getting it to work, because we certainly want it to be working. That's right.
I think it's a problem with the email as well as the
We still can't get email today.
So, I think it might be something.
Larger IT issues.
Yeah, beyond us.
Okay. Well, let's just grumble about it. If we grumble a little bit, somebody might. If they think this new, reinvigorated, re-empowered management committee is grumbling, maybe we'll get their attention. That'll be good. All right. Any other comments or questions or suggestions? I appreciate your service again. And this is going to be a working committee. This is an important committee. We're going to treat it that way. You're going to make the real decisions about the business affairs of the House. And that's what people expect. That's what the people that elected you expect, and we're going to do that. So
I move that
we have a motion to rise and report. Any second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Signify by saying no. All right. Turn in. We want to turn in our minutes. If you want, well, you don't have to look. If you want to keep it, that's fine. Make your own file if you want to, but keep this secure. Don't be leaving this on the clerk's. I wouldn't leave it on my desk. I mean, don't do that. Okay? Treat it with respect. If you want to turn it back in, turn it back in. Actually, I'd like to turn mine back in. I'd like somebody to make me roll the file. But now, you've taken copious notes here. How do we do this? Do you want to?
The practice has been that I take down the minutes
Okay.
And take a
I think that's good.
Usually things that aren't resolved, I might just say the chairman appointed. We'll do it next Monday. But unless there's action taken, motion made and a second, and action taken,
But it's all out.
Yeah, there's no point in discussing it. But now, if it's not putting too much on here, it might be good if, once you get a draft or whatever you're ready. You got time, run it by, and we'll just get to it. That'd be good.
I'll be over my desk.
and what I used to do was,
Is that right?
we weren't meeting with the when I used to email out, sometimes I used to email it to the whole committee.
Well, see, that's what I was talking about doing. I thought, I didn't know you were going to 2 minutes. I was going to email it